Hey there, welcome to the Growth Whisperers, where everything that we talk about is building enduring great companies. My name is Brad Giles, and as always, every week for 132 weeks now, I'm joined by my co-host, Kevin Lawrence. Kevin, hello, it's lovely to see you today. How are you?
Yeah, you too, Brad. 132 weeks. There's not a lot of things that people, aside from maybe brushing the teeth and a few things, that many people, or I'd say even myself, can do 132 times in a row. We put an episode out for 132 weeks consistently. Missed none. We haven't missed one release date, have we?
Nope, not one.
Pretty incredible for two very busy people, opposite sides of the world, and during COVID. Actually, it might have been easier during COVID because you might have had a little bit more free time because we didn't have to travel.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But no, it is. And pat ourselves on the back. I guess, yeah, it's good. It's good to be, and through that, I wrote a book.
On top of that.
Yeah. And that book is coming out in a couple of weeks on the 1st of November. So we thought that, we'd just have a bit of a chat about that today and in coming weeks. Just break apart some of the topics in there and see where the conversation takes us.
Yeah, and congrats on the book, Brad. I mean, it's a topic that I'm also very passionate about because I see onboarding messed up. Oh, there's the hold back. Don't go away so fast. Onboarded. There's onboarding is a topic that I've seen go wrong so many times, and for lots of different reasons, lots of which you cover off in your book. But it's one of these things. You put all this energy into getting awesome new executives, leaders, managers, frontline employees, recruiting them, but then helping them, and not setting up to win. It's interesting. My son has joined our new restaurant that's opening close to where we live. And it's been interesting listening to him. He's been involved in onboarding like he was onboarded, and then incredible amounts of training and learning and practicing 2 weeks even before the restaurant opens.
Yeah.
Like it's incredible how they are. I'm interested to see what they do. The restaurant opens this week. But it'll be interesting to see how they do. But the amount of preparation has been impressive. I am surprised at the level of they have put into it. So again,
are they a franchise?
They are not. It's a single guy who owns a bunch. He's a local entrepreneur, owns a bunch of restaurants.
Yeah, okay.
And these are decent scale restaurants, and he's got a number of locations. It's not their first rodeo or the second rodeo, as we say in Canada. Anyway, but from what I can see, the first 30 days, like they've nailed. And now it's still chaotic because they're still in prep mode of the restaurant and getting things sorted out because it's a brand new restaurant. But for the restaurant opening type onboarding, they're doing great. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But I've said to my son, this is a great experience to get this much training. And it's his first restaurant job. It's great to get that much training and practice and all of this stuff for everyone. It's so it's great to see when it looks to be good. And often it's not. So why don't, Brad, we had a conversation before. Why don't you kind of give the distinction between, what you define as onboarding and what some other people might call, onboarding or induction or orientation. If you want to give the distinction so it's really clear in the mind of listeners, what it is and the point you're making here.
Sure thing. So onboarding is the process of taking someone from outside your organization and making them a productive, independent, and confident member of your team who understands the culture, the technical and process expectations, and your expectations as their manager. So
to put that simply, it's like someone learns how to do the job within the way the company works, the manager works, expectations, and is able to do excellent, amazing work from the perspective of themselves and their manager and the people they work with.
Yeah, they understand.
They get to awesomeness, onboarding to awesomeness.
The key word there is understand. They understand their
Yes.
manager's expectations. Like, what does my manager expect of me? They understand the culture and all of the bits around that and the technical and process, the way we do things here. Understand, geez, I was talking to my brother not only a week or two ago, and he was telling me he's joined a very large organization, multinational, and he said they had no idea about teaching him about his job. Like, it's prevalent in small and big companies. Some companies do a great job of it. You would think that only big companies, would do a good job of it. But the data just doesn't say that. Like you said with that restaurant, some companies do a good job irrespective of size, and some companies do a terrible job.
Yeah, like in our firm, we're now 14 people in our little boutique firm, and we're bringing 2 people on in the last quarter, but we have a 13-week onboarding plan. Like, it's and we're always looking for ways to make it better. But, it's very, but a few of our guys have had amazing experiences in large, successful companies that figure this out. And they brought a basic tool for a 13-week plan that works really, really well.
So here's a quick and dirty. Sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah.
Can you think of someone who recently did that 13-week onboarding plan? You don't need to say their name.
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how clearly does that person understand their manager's expectations? 1 really low, 10 really high.
Yeah, like 10.
Now, culture. How clearly
10.
does the person, and then technical and process, because you did the 13 weeks. Now, if you did a 7-day, a 1 week or 2 week onboarding process, which 83% of companies do, you might not be able to say 10.
Well, no, because in the first 7 days, you forget a bunch of stuff. Like, at first I thought it might be overkill, but I see the results, but I've seen the opposite. I remember, the classic thing that I see is when we bring new executives in.
Yeah.
And they come on board, and I have the same conversations with the executive and the CEO almost all the time. And I say to the executive, hey, your job for the first 13 weeks, first quarter, because we think in quarters, is to learn the team, learn the culture, learn the business and the nuances, and learn how to work with your CEO. You're not here to shoot the lights out. You're not here to blow us away with how amazing you are. You're not here to make big decisions, because you won't freaking know until you get a month in the job, and you'll have the best intentions and potentially bad results. And then I say to the CEO, hey, it's great that you have this awesome new executive, and it's amazing to have this amazing experience from XYZ company that we love and believe in. They need to be on a short rope. You need to meet with them ideally every day. You need to have a full meeting with them every week, and you need to talk about and making sure that all key decisions that they run by you first. Now, where they want to take an employee for lunch doesn't matter. But there's this period of them getting, in addition to the onboarding plan, which you talk a lot about. But I see all the time that the CEO is so excited to have Mr. or Miss Amazing Executive, and they just let them run on their own into a wall. And they often are awesome people who end up failing, damaging relationships, making bad choices, pissing people off because they don't know yet. And in some cases, they don't even have relational permission yet. And it's not rocket science. It's just it's a discipline, like a lot of good things. And again, I know your book will get into this way better than I would explain it, but I'm just hugely passionate about it because recently bringing on a new president in a company, and I know if I didn't say something, the president would run too fast and the CEO would let him.
And the great risk is attrition. The great risk is the president's. Let's be fair, right? The president a few weeks ago was talking with other companies he could start with, right? Mm-hmm. So that was only a few weeks ago. And now we're trying to let them run. If they're an A player, then they're going to work out. But that is quite important, right? Onboarding is not hiring. Onboarding is not induction, it's not orientation, and it's not training. Onboarding is a separate process. And in the book, I really wanted to say, you've got to have a great hiring process, e.g. like top grading. Okay, you've got to have that. But then that process finishes and another completely different process begins.
An equally important and thorough process begins. And you can't just expect them. You know, one more that happened. I was talking with a company in another country, and they were telling me about this person who was making horrible decisions, running off and doing things that made no sense. And I said, like, how is that possible? And I'm talking to the executive that the person reports to. I'm like, tell me, like, what was your onboarding plan? Like, what did you do? Like, it made no sense the person can make such horrible decisions because that we know they're not unintelligent.
Yeah.
Well, you know what it turns out? The executive that is leading this person doesn't even have a weekly meeting.
It's no surprise.
They hired the person, told them the job, and did a little bit of training by having them shadow the other person, and just is letting. I wanted to scream, and I probably said some bad words. Like, that's not only not fair to the person, it's not fair to the business, and it's not a smart way to manage any investment. Like, the person has zero chance of success.
Here's the thing.
A negative chance.
Here's the thing. It's also incredibly expensive. I've got like 2 chapters devoted in the book of 7 chapters. I've got 2 chapters devoted to the cost because it's scary.
And we're not talking about the money they waste with decisions. It's the damage to the business and the damage to the people and the cost. It's crazy. But, you know, to you and I, Brad, this stuff is basic. And to the people listening, like, look, this has been an oversight. We're not here to judge you. We're here to help you. It's basic, but unfortunately, to build a thriving business, it's like flying a jet plane. There's a lot of switches, especially in the old analog ones. There's a lot of switches that do a lot of things. Unfortunately, a lot of people in the jobs, they don't even know that some of these switches exist. It's like they're hidden under the dashboard and they can't see them. And for some people, this is one of them. They don't even contemplate it, maybe, hopefully, until they read your book.
Yeah, there are structural reasons why we've got in this position, right? Nobody owns onboarding. Someone owns sales. Someone owns operations.
They should, though, but like, it's this in some companies. Like, in some companies, HR owns the process, the manager owns the work.
I agree with you, but there's no full-time component to it, is what I'm saying. Like,
what do you mean by that?
If I'm a sales manager, every day I come to work and the first thing I think is, how can I hit my targets? Whereas onboarding, it's like, if you've got a team of 10, maybe once or twice a year, you're onboarding somebody new if you've got an average attrition rate. So it's a part-time thing.
I would agree that somebody does own it. HR generally should own that the process is followed. It's just the discipline is not very strong in a lot of these companies.
I'm saying the same thing. Yeah, right? I'm saying the same thing. Like, yes, the manager absolutely has to own it. There's no doubt about it. But it's a part-time process, okay? And it's not like there are any, with hiring, we've got the person, we've hired the new hire, tick, awesome. So there's
I think the same thing falls down in hiring. A lot of people don't have enough. HR owns the hiring process, and a lot of managers aren't disciplined around it.
But there's a measurable metric there. We can say we've hired. A lot of
companies don't even measure it. Like, I know what you're saying. I'm agreeing with you, Brad. Hiring often runs loose, and onboarding often runs loose. And onboarding probably worse. No. Hiring is often very, very loose. But the point of it is, it's missed, and it lets slip, and then it's not good for the person. It's not good for the company. Like, nobody wins.
Yeah. So I guess in my 20, 30 years of being an entrepreneur and a leadership team coach, there's one thing that I've learned, and I do hope that you agree with this, Kev.
We'll find out.
Rule number one of building a great business. The first and most important rule is that you've got to have the right people on the bus. You've got to get the right people on the bus in the right seat doing the right things the right way, right? That's it. If you can't get the right people on
Good
the bus.
people that fit, doing a great job.
So
yes,
hiring gets the right people on the bus and in the right seat.
Yes.
But an effective onboarding process gets them doing the right things the right way. And
100%.
there's a difference there. Okay. So hiring gets the right people on the bus and onboarding gets the right people doing the right things the right way.
Yep.
So if we reverse engineer that, if we've got a great hiring process, okay, and let's say we're getting A's, maybe B players, we're getting good people come on board, and that's fine. They're on the bus and they're in the right seat, but they don't know how to do the right things the right way, which creates problems.
And that's why organizations put a lot of energy into onboarding and making it better and better and better so that they can, one, get these people up to speed faster, or get more of them up to speed than they would have if they had a loose system and it's kind of like the strong survive.
So I want you to imagine that you, as a middle-aged person, competing in a weekly basketball competition, okay? You and let's say 8 of your friends, every week you come together and they're all about the same caliber as you. They're pretty good, okay? They're good for their age, good for their, they're amateur, they get around. And then what happens is one of the people has to go and another person comes in. He's a chap called Michael Jordan, same age, but he's incredibly competent, experienced. He's one of the greatest of all time, joins your little team. This team is now a completely different team. Okay. Now people have got to understand each other, but they're completely different. And that's where the phrase, every time a new person joins the team fundamentally reinvents itself. Is the new person who's just joined your team high IQ, low IQ, high EQ, low EQ? Are they loud? Are they quiet? Have they got 25 years experience doing what you're doing, or are they fresh out of college? Have they used the competitor's product that they don't know how to unlearn, or it's going to be really tough to unlearn?
Yeah.
So you think about a team, every single time someone joins, the team is fundamentally reinvented. And not only is the onboarding about getting them to learn the process, but it's also about learning the culture and the ways that we work and interact.
Right. And often we talk about getting the team to mesh, which is one thing.
Yeah.
But then there's them actually learning to do their job in a spectacular way, which is a whole other thing when you have because Michael Jordan's going to have his own plays and his own ways he likes to practice, but your team has their own way and he's got to learn your team's way. Or maybe he has ideas that change the whole thing, but that's got to be a conscious choice. Otherwise, it's just not going to work.
Imagine the first, second, third week where Michael Jordan's running rings around all of you and your people, and the frustration would be enormous.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's the job to be done.
It is. So the essence of what we're saying is taking your onboarding really quickly, making sure that if you have a strong hiring process, there's also a strong onboarding process. And elements from the hiring process, like the scorecard that defines the role, should be a key part of that process. But it's a notable commitment of time and energy to get that person fully up to speed, so that, as you say, you very well have the right person. Now you got to make sure they're doing the right things the right way so they can be successful. And the sooner that happens, the better. But it doesn't happen on its own. And if you just leave them to figure it out on their own, I mean, it's kind of like going to Vegas and, making a bet on the roulette wheel on black. And you're gambling. And it's just not, not smart.
Well, they're going to try to do things the way that they think is right, but it might not be the right way for the whole range of legitimate reasons.
Or it could be better, but then it's going to screw up something else somewhere else in your business because they don't understand the whole process or why you do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's awesome. I'm really excited to see your book come out, which is going to be out in a couple of weeks, Brad, because, as you know, we're very passionate about nailing the hiring process. And that's why we do a lot of work around that. And And we've done a lot of work with clients around onboarding. And as I said, in our firm, we do a thorough job, not perfect, but always trying to get better. And,
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in the benefit of it, because I've seen way too many times how easily it goes wrong, mostly because there's not a good enough plan.
Yeah, I guess I looked at it and I thought, what's the big thing that's missing? What's the big gap in business today? And I think that there are structural reasons for it. So I did a survey of 1,100 CEOs and hiring managers around the world to get some compelling data that told the story in a way that I couldn't. And then, really built out in fact, two really strong tools that people can practically use within the book.
Awesome.
Good
stuff. Well, hey, thanks for listening. This has been the Growth Whisperers podcast. And today we're talking about Onboarded, Brad's new book that's coming out November 1st. November 1st of 2022, for those of you that might be listening to the back catalog. I'm Kevin Lawrence in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and Brad Giles, my co-host here, is in Perth, Australia. To subscribe, if you haven't already, just hit that subscribe button. Keep it coming. Feel free to share it with some friends if you found some good value. For a video version, go to youtube.com. And Brad and I both have very thorough newsletters sharing the best ideas we can. And you can get a hold of Brad at evolutionpartners.com.au and get that newsletter. And you can reach me and my team at lawrenceandco.com. You can also get the newsletter there and learn about past books that I've done. And you can also learn about Brad's previous book as well on his website. Hope you have an awesome week. And please do the best you can to onboard your people, make them more successful sooner, which is good for them and you. Have a good one.